And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Kaneng. Now all this week, you know the theme. It is State of the Nation. Have the inmates taken over the asylum? We're going to bring a whole host of guests and experts to talk about Kenya, where we are going with Kenya, if you will. On the guest today is a man, I tell you, what a character. You need to know this guy. He's never been on the bench before, so this time he is a man who you're going to enjoy. Sit back, because way back, yes, I call him a political gun for hire. He calls himself a pro. Listen to this. Back in '97, was actually head of the Ngilu presidential campaign. He was a journalist, a publisher by profession, and yes, remember the Post on Sunday? He's the one who exposed Goldenberg, was arrested. Not only that, he was jailed by the court for 6 months in committee, served in Block 131 for 6 months, came out, and in 2007 decided to jump on the ODM bandwagon. Was very close to ODM when during that whole campaign. After that, he was absconded, if you will, to the Prime Minister's office, and then he quit after a while. He'll tell us why. Now he is the CEO of the Eugene Wamalwa campaign. So now, who is he supporting? How do the things look? And he wrote an article in Monday Star saying the only way Uhuru can get himself out of the mess is to speak to one senior counsel, Paul Mwite. Heavy stuff. Sit back. TG's in the house. Tony Gashoka.
Jeff, hi, how are you?
My brother.
How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to be on the bench.
Welcome to the bench.
Absolutely.
Man, you've led a life, huh?
I hope you can handle the fire. I hope the bench is hard enough for the fire.
We're about to call G4S now.
Yes, Jeff.
So, let's start with your article, Monday Star.
Yes.
It was very interesting, man. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head saying the only way, I guess, Uhuru can be vindicated is if he speaks to Paul Mwite, who's senior counsel and who's very close to Mungiki, and he can say whether Uhuru is part of Mungiki, whether he was part of this whole system, whether he was the mastermind to drive Mungiki to do what they did in Naivasha. Is that
the facts are this, Jeff. There was a charge by Ocampo that there was a conspiracy between the Kenyan police and Mungiki that provided a corridor for revenge attacks. The charge is against Uhuru Reid. And my point is, Ali was discharged. So the police component of those charges was dismissed by the chamber. The only component now left, which is facing the Deputy Prime Minister and Ambassador Mudhaura, is the issue of Mungiki. Now, the issue of Mungiki being an organization, having a policy for the extermination of a population, having a commander, having a financier, those are the core issues that surround or that vindicate charges that are alluded to war crimes. Now, the only way to escape those charges, defeat those charges, is actually to show that Uhuru was never part of the Mungiki, he was never a commander of the Mungiki, he was never part of the organization of Mungiki, and so on. Now, Paul Mwite is a senior counsel. For 20 years, he has represented Mungiki. Not just the leaders like Maina Jenga and several members of Mungiki, but the organization. So he is well aware, legally and professionally, about the makeup of Mungiki. He will be the most effective person to cross-examine, to be able to actually ask people who are alleging, fraudsters who are alleging that Uhuru was part of this and not, would not be able to go past Mwite's eye, because Mwite would ask them tough questions, because he knows them. These are people he has dealt with.
Why not go directly to Maina Jenga if you want Mungiki's answer?
My point is, Uhuru right now requires a lawyer. And a lawyer is a legal strategy. He already has a team of lawyers, but he needs a lawyer with a legal strategy to be able to show the court that the issue of the policy and organization and so forth, the legal arguments, because remember, Uhuru has been charged by Ocampo on legal charges, not on personality issues. So Maina Jenga is just an individual. He can be a witness or not, that is not relevant. What is relevant is whether Uhuru has a legal strategy better and capable of defeating Ocampo's legal strategy. And my view is that he has no choice. The only person, in my own view, in this country who is competent enough is Paul Mwite. And look at Paul Mwite's record.
It's a clean record for the most part, but let me ask you this, Tony.
Yeah.
Paul Mwite's relationship with the Kenyatas has been adverse at best.
Yes.
He's the one who's always talked about all these families with rich land, wealth, this accumulated wealth over the years.
Yes.
They can't, it's like oil and water mixing.
You are right, but you know, Uhuru Kenyatta led the example himself. He ran against President Kibaki in the year 2002 and then joined him in government in 2007. And if you were to ask Uhuru today, he's enjoyed working with Kibaki more than he's ever enjoyed in politics before. But they were adversaries. You go and look at Japan and look at Germany. They were enemies in the Second World War to the States. I mean, they fought the British, they fought the Americans. Today they are the greatest allies in Europe and across the Atlantic. Politics is about moving from one position to another. Hillary Clinton is working with Obama. Paul Mwite can work with Uhuru Kenyatta. And let me also tell you this. We've just lost Jenga Karume. We've just lost John Michuki. Kikuyu land has lost its pillars. The dinosaurs of Gema politics are falling. And nobody can argue of the intellectual prowess of Paul Mwite and Uhuru ticket together would send shivers in the entire Central Province. Nobody can argue about what kind of stamina he would bring to an Uhuru candidature. Nobody can argue about the intellectualism he would bring, and nobody would argue about the history and the news it would make. Already you're talking about it here on the bench.
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask you this, Tony. It looks, for all intents purposes, this case is going to full trial.
It is, for all intents and purposes, sadly looking that the appeals that had been lodged, the lower court has refused to admit them. There is still the higher court that can consider a second stage of appeal. Yeah. But they have further ruled that the issue of jurisdiction not determined cannot stop the other trial from proceeding.
Correct.
So you've got a situation where this case can actually go to trial quicker than we think. And my point is, it is the urgency of that and that alone that needs people to look at why was Uhuru confirmed. Why was Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta confirmed, and why should he not have been confirmed? And my own view is that he was confirmed because some of the evidence that the court has is a misunderstanding of Mungeki.